I don't do the most, but I do a lot. Coming in hot, ladies and gents. Baller status on today's episode. I feel like Pac. I shoot a shot. I'm coming in hot. Let's do this thing.
Shut up and sit down.
The Business Bros Podcast was created for you. Learn from the business professionals who come to share their stories. Find out what's working in business, on social media, what's hot and what's not, straight from the mouths of successful entrepreneurs out there doing the real work. And now, welcome to another episode of
Business Bros. Yeah! Let's get that party started, Ham. Do it. Drop the heat, baby.
All right, all you business pros out there, before we jump into the shows, just a quick reminder to please subscribe on whichever platform it is that you're listening to us on today. Give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe, and drop a review. Help other like-minded business owners find value from our awesome guests while we rise up in those podcast rankings. We'll sincerely appreciate every single one of you for it. And if you want to be a guest on the show, we'd love to have you on to learn from you as well. Go to www.businessbros.biz, schedule your time. Don't forget to follow us on all our social medias at Business Bros Pod. All right, everybody, we're so excited and honored to bring a baller on the Business Bros Pod. Our guest today wants to give you money. That's right. He is here to help you get the funding you need to take your business to the next level. Our guest has been helping small businesses accelerate growth by being more than just your average financier. Sure, our guest will help you find the capital you need. He'll get to know you and your company and help you identify the right financial solution without many of the obstacles you might face with traditional banks. But our guest does more than that. His mission is to develop and preserve the significance of your financial position for your business. Our guest helps business owners focus on the foundational pieces necessary to maneuver the ever-changing economic landscape while encouraging his clients to explore the mind's natural curiosity and find creative solutions to today's business challenges. Tune in to learn how our guest is growing small businesses through financial literacy and funding, and how you can grow too. Joining us today from Axiom Capital Partners out of Midland, Texas, author of The Curious Mind of the Business Owner, welcome to the show, Chris Arredondo!
Chris, there we go, man. How you like the fire so far, man? How do you like the fire?
Man, it's hot.
Ready to rock and roll, dude. You got a fan base already. Look at that. Go Dad. What's up?
Yeah, man. Hey, there it is.
Chris, what's up? They're all watching you. They're all watching you, ready to rock and roll today. All right, let's do this thing. You're helping, curious business owners. Curiosity is one of those things that it sounds easy to do. It sounds easy to maintain, but oftentimes we get stopped, bro. Like I might be thinking about something and maybe trying something and giving it a risk. But when it really comes down to that nitty gritty of actually putting in the work, people hesitate. How do we get them past that, Chris? How do we get them past that?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it goes with being an avid learner from the get-go, right? As we start our own businesses, right, there's so much that we want to learn about how to solve problems and the community problems and people's problems. But when we get the business going, it always seems like there's a stagnant point where the business owner might feel like, I'm successful, I've done well, and they're not really maximizing their capital, right? And so it's just taking a little bit of time out of the day, an hour or two out of the day to really focus on what your business is and researching, developing new products, innovation, technology. But it starts with having an avid mind. You need to be a learner, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. Learning whatever it's going to take, right? Like just getting to that next level. It's funny because when you talk about problems that businesses come across, money is often that one that comes up first, but it's usually not the main problem that business owners are going through. It's like a short problem. Yeah, once you have the money, if you get injected with capital, if you don't have some of the structures in place, if you don't have some of the habits in place, then you're gonna go through that money just as quickly as anything else. So when you talk to businesses that are ready to move to that next level, what's the difference between that business that is like says they're ready and is ready, and that business that says they're ready, and when you look at some stuff, you know they're not.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the business owner themselves, you see the emotional intelligence that that person has, right? And so what we do before we even look at lending anybody money or investing in the company itself, we look at 4 other factors of capital before we look at even the financial capital. So we'll look at the psychological capital of that business owner, right? Do they have the emotional intelligence to handle the money even when they're broke, right? If you can't manage your money when you're broke, you can't manage it when you got money, right? And so to make sure that that person is emotionally stable to manage the capital when they do receive it. So my business partner, he's actually a doctorate in industrial organizational psychology, right? So that's where a lot of the research that we get to understand the habits of the business owners and how to correct those things. Then we look at the data capital, right? So those are your accounting systems, right? There's a lot of people, especially small business owners, they use QuickBooks, right? But they're not really always recording their transactions. They're not really always using their financial data until it's the end of the year to do taxes, right? Or if they're coming to us to look for money. So we want to show the importance of financial statements because even in the book, I mean, that was the big component of the businesses that failed. The hugest majority of them did not monitor their financial statements. And that is a huge component. I mean, it's just like your personal life, right? You have to manage your money at home. You have to set a budget. You have to follow it. Then we look at social capital, right? You can't do anything unless you have a team around you. You can't do anything unless you reach out to other business owners and get their advice and really read and research what other people are doing, right? And if you don't have the friends that are doing big things, well, you know, you're kind of stuck in that middle, right?
Fine. I'll do it myself.
And a real leader, can that person manage the team? Can they really do execute once they get the money, right? Because you can put $1 million into a business. That doesn't mean that they're going to make money on that return, right?
So let's hover on that real quick. So we got 3 so far: psychological, you got data, you got social capital, right? So let's talk. Let's hover on that psychological, that emotional IQ. What are you specifically looking for that says this person has, you know, the financial IQ, or maybe, you know, the psychological IQ to move forward with this type of transaction? Like what is it that gives you that criteria or that rubric to kind of measure them out?
Yeah, so I think it, you know, for me, whenever what I saw was, and it's in the book, right? My dad, he had his own business when I was a kid. And so he was really successful for the very beginning of the business. And so when the business was doing really well, when he came home, man, he was a great guy. Everything was going well. But when there was struggles in the money department for the business and he was growing too fast and he couldn't manage that growth, well, he'd come home and he'd have some bad habits, maybe not, you know, spend time with the family, you know, maybe stay out a little bit too late at the bar or do whatever, you know, just trying to cope with the pressures of actual business, right? And so I think it's somebody who, even in the turmoil, even in the times where it's going to be hard to run the business, they have a steady mindset. They're looking for solutions, right? They're looking for, we're always going to have problems, right? And so one of my business partners, he always says, right, it's the problems that really make the leader, right? Because whenever you solve that problem and you do the right thing and you do the research, you do all of the development when it comes to make that decision, right? That's when real leaders are going to be born. The preparation in that second. So I'd say, just in general, it's going to be somebody who's always prepared, somebody who's always feels like they're always one step behind, even though they're not, right? And so they're always going to stay researching their market, researching their products, always trying to innovate and find new ways to flip the dollar faster.
You know, it's funny. I was listening to The Rock speak to the Lakers, right? And The Rock standing there and he's talking about how, you know, how he's driven. And part of it is to remain hungry. And he says that a lot of times he likes to operate where his back is against the wall. Like, you know, like there's nowhere else to go. You're stuck in this position where you cannot go backwards. The only way is you can move forward. And it's funny because when you talk about businesses having money problems, that's their back against the wall. When you talk about them, growing too fast, that's their back against the wall. And when you're describing here, some people handle that really well and some people don't. You think it's because of a mentality that they put themselves in where their back is against the wall? Or is it just that, we ride the high waves and we don't know how to handle the lows?
No, I think it's a little bit of both, man. I think if you continuously put yourself in a position where you have to keep moving, right? If you have to test your nerves and you have to test the fear, I think eventually at some point in time, you do that enough that you know how to manage the anxiety, right? But it takes a lot of work to get to that point, right? It takes the hour a day to read or pray or do whatever, meditate in order to really find the peace mentally. And then once you find that, then that translates into the business.
Noah says, "Love you, Dad."
Love you too, Noah.
All right, let's. It's funny you talk about getting yourself like mentally strong. One of the guys that always sticks out in my head is David Goggins, right? He's always talking about stay hard, right? Callousing your mind. And I literally would hear his voice. This weekend, I went to go do an 8-mile marathon and I was pushing harder than I normally ever push. And as I was getting tired or as a hill would come up, I would hear that in my mind, like, stay hard, dude. Like, this is what you're working for. Like, the hard time right now, this is where the competition comes up. And, hearing you say that, it comes with training. It comes with having a routine and getting out there and understanding that, you're working on callousing your mind every day. You're working on developing the mental strength and you're working on your gratitude every day. So when the times get tough, like, you're prepared to handle that, right?
Right. Yeah. And it was a lot of the things that you kind of know and you kind of assume. But as I started writing the book and I started researching and actually looking at what the scientists and the doctors are saying based on how we, our performance at work is based on a lot of our mental strength, right? And so it once you start seeing all the research and all of the analysis and you hear of the herd mentality, right? But when you start looking at those things and you start paying attention, especially like in COVID, right? You could see how people start to go one way and you're like, wow, that is true. You start to hear things like David Goggins where it tell you, don't follow the path, but you don't really recognize it until you step yourself away and start, reading other things and reading the science, right?
It's crazy how humans are, right? Speaking of like trying to get things in order and like making sure you're doing your day-to-days, the next thing you had was data capital. And you kind of briefly mentioned things like, making sure you keep your books in order, making sure you do some of these things. What are some of those biggest struggles you see that people are having? How can we get them like in a position so that they have good data capital?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, small business owners, they need to reach out to CPAs, accountants, right? And not just during the period at the end of the year when it's time to file taxes and you give them, a shoebox of receipts and you're asking for them to, give you the least amount of tax liability possible. It's the whole year, right? It's the analysis that they can provide and the insight that they can give you. But I'd also say too, just human nature, right? Not all CPAs kind of learn the same, different things, right? Some of them stay in the same path and they don't always give you the best insight. So I would say, get enough people around you to ask questions, right? But get sound accountants and sound people to give you data so you can make decisions. Because too many times I see when we're first getting into the business, they're managing the business based off the bank account.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's a cultural thing? Like, I know, dude, I'm Mexican. I get it, dude. Like, there's a lot of, I got tios and tias, dude. I remember growing up and, I had a tio that laid carpet. He talked to the customers. He picked up the money. He picked up the supplies. He verified all the jobs. Like, he did everything, dude. And to have that ability of, I got to let go some of that control to somebody else. Is it a cultural thing? Or like, how do we get them to let go and be like, look, I don't know about you, but I don't actually like sitting down and putting all my things in QuickBooks. I don't like sending out the invoicing. Find somebody to do it because somebody's out there who can do it a lot better than you, a lot faster than you. And that time that you're saving where you're ripping your hair out so you end up like me, right? You have no hair. Right. That's time you could use doing the things you actually want to do, right?
Right, exactly. And it helps you make better decisions in looking right. So for your uncle, right? You said that had the laying carpet.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Let's say he has a vendor and he's totally fine with that vendor, but he doesn't really know what other competitors are charging, right? So he's not really maximizing his profit because he's just stuck in the day to day of, going and getting the supplies and going to do the work and going home, right? And like you said, I think some of it is a cultural thing. I mean, I, my dad didn't know, and my dad didn't really teach me. I got to see a lot of his goods and bads in watching him, as a child. But it wasn't until I became a controller for a company, and the man valued data, right? And he wanted to know every single component of the business. And he didn't have a controller at the time. I was the first one, right? So we had to put processes. We had to ask a lot of questions on how things worked, and that way we could create processes to replicate itself.
Chris, if people ask you questions, it doesn't mean that we're picking on you as an individual, right? Like when your accountant is asking you questions, he's not going to rat you out to the IRS, bro. Like he's trying to help you. He's asking these questions so that he can dig deep and give you the best possible advice so that you can move forward. Help me understand the difference between being proactive with your books and being reactive with your books.
Yeah, so I think somebody that's proactive, right? They're gonna put in their transactions on a daily basis. They're gonna monitor them on a monthly basis. They're gonna look for the trends that are working. They're gonna look for the things that are not working, so that they can fix them, right? So if you're recording your transactions in January and you're reviewing them in February, well, your habits and your processes that are going on, we can fix them as soon as possible. But for some people, they don't do that until December. So there's all of the bad habits that you're not correcting 1 or 2 months. You're now implementing them for the entire year.
You know what? And I never thought about explaining it like that. But what you're saying is you're going to let your employees, your team members, everybody in your organization develop and nurture bad habits. And then after you talk to the CPA a year later, then you're going to try to make a change? That's not good planning, bro. That's not good planning.
100%. No. And you see it all the time. And for me, a lot of my clients are Hispanic, right? And it still is building that trust to say, I'm not going to take your money. I'm not going to, not going to do this. I'm just here to help you, right? Because there is a lot of trust issues nowadays.
Oh, dude, totally. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about social capital. What? Help me define what you mean by social capital.
Well, I'd say just one sentence, right? Your network is your net worth, right? So it's in writing the book that I started researching a new accounting system, right? Well, I started to also design out accounting software. Well, in West Texas, we don't have a lot of tech people, so I can't really go to somebody and get a lot of advice, right? So I have business partners in Dallas, and they've just been putting me in connection with people that that are really important in that space. That now I can ask really important questions. To I could ask my Theo, but he may not be able to answer that question, right? So it's getting the right people that can answer those questions for you. That's what social capital is.
What has been probably your best way of creating that social capital? Because some of it is the professional networks, right? The people who have those skills. But another part of it could be those types of customers or the types of people that do business with you that praise you, that talk about what it is that you do on a regular basis, that end up bringing you more repeat or referral business, right?
100%. I mean, for the longest time, I didn't even go out and look for clients anymore because I was getting so much repeat work from other clients. So, first and foremost, doing a good job in what you do, other people are going to tell other people about you, right? And the people that they know, you don't really know who they are, and they could be really somebody important later down the road that could be a key piece in the business that you're needing at the time.
What are some things that you do to help nurture your network? Because, I mean, you can go to network events all the time and grab a bunch of business cards and throw them in a CRM and send them an email once a week or whatever. But it's different than if you're actually nurturing those clients. How do those people that you meet keep sending you business and keep coming back to you? What do you do that makes it like different?
Yeah. So I think for us, since we do a lot of the bookkeeping and the analysis, right? And then we lend money. So a lot of people are going to want to come in that regard anyways, right? But what we also do is we also teach how to do different strategies correctly, right? So just like in marketing, right? So you guys know very foremost the science behind marketing, and there's a lot of business owners that aren't using their marketing approach correctly, right? They're not using the science correctly. They're not buying the keywords and doing those things. So using social media correctly, right? I think is a key right now in networking, especially since I just spoke in Dallas at a startup conference last week, and because of the new variant in COVID, I mean, it was supposed to be packed, and really there wasn't that many people. So I'd say using social media and asking marketing professionals like yourself on how to use it correctly, like how to use LinkedIn correctly, and not to be afraid of asking people that you don't know, silly questions that you're just trying to figure out. And they're not always going to answer you, right? I mean, you should see my Instagram of the hundreds of people that I've talked to or tried to talk to. But there's a couple that have been really, really helpful. So it's a numbers game. You just got to reach out to as many people as you can.
Prospecting is prospecting, and there's different ways to approach it. I'll give you an example. Because it's your birthday, right? Today's your birthday. First of all, so happy birthday, right? There it is in the background. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Right there it is. All right. So, my birthday was on Saturday. I got I got your normal stuff where people, say happy birthday and they leave it in a comment. But one of the guys in my 5 a.m. club, Eric, he does something completely different. He sends me a video and he's like, hey, man, happy birthday. Right? He's hitting the horn. Where's my horn? Where's my horn at? There you go.
There you go.
Right? He's hitting it. He's like, Hernan, happy birthday, man. Blah, blah, blah. You're thanks for being part of my, just that video alone that's a little bit different than what you normally would get stands out tremendously, right? That's a marketing tool. That is a prospecting tool that you could utilize, and it's free. It's part of your social media campaign. Every day, there's people who are going to come up and it says on Facebook, it's such and such's birthday coming up tomorrow, the day after, you just missed it, whatever it is, right? The past 3 days, you have a list of people who are saying happy birthday to, and are you just going to be that normal one that says a little message, or are you going to stand out a little bit different? If you send out that positive karma with people all the time, that stuff starts to come back after a while, right, Chris? I mean, what do you think?
100%. Yeah, no, and it's an emotional transfer, right? I mean, you're positive with somebody else, they're going to be positive right back to you, right? If you go into the situation and you're already upset or you already have some negative energy, it's going to come right back to you, right? It's just life. And so whenever you meet somebody for the first time and you're trying to sell them on something, it really is an emotional transfer that you're trying to have them leave so they remember you, right? And they want to reach back out to you and they want to talk to you because there was something you said that sparked their interest, their curiosity, right?
That's what it is, right? I think it was Maya Angelou talking about how people are not going to remember what you say to them or what you do for them, but they'll remember how you make them feel, right? They're going to remember how feelings are a huge thing. I mean, another one, James' girlfriend in Muda, she went to the race and saw us there, and then she shows up with a birthday card and like candy and all kinds of stuff. And I was like, dude, I barely even know you, but thank you. You made me feel amazing, right? That was awesome. Make people feel amazing every day. All right. So we got psychological, we did data, we did social. What else do you have on the list?
Human capital, right? So we want to make sure that person is a leader, that person can manage a team, that person has empathy, right? All of the components that, maybe we haven't seen in the last 30 or 40 years in our society, that there are still a lot of people who have, virtues and values that they respect other people. And those are the people that you see, even in science, that, I mean, they outperform others because the team around them wants to execute for that person.
You think it's, the quality of the leader kind of helps? Because, I mean, you can have some great people on your team. Doesn't necessarily mean those people want to work with you. I'll give you an example. Steve Jobs was super well known for obviously for Apple and growing that company. But he also left this stigma of you kind of got to be an a-hole to your employees, right? And then so people started to think, well, if I'm going to run a company, then that's how I got to act to my team. That's not always necessarily the case, right? That worked for him. And I think what that did was it helped bring the greatness out of the people around him. People wanted to elevate to that status. but that's not everybody's personality types. When you're talking about human capital and you're judging the leader, what are you looking for?
I'd say there's somebody that listens to the team, right? Somebody that asks questions to the team and that wants to learn and find new processes, because a lot of times the team is the one that's executing the processes, the procedures, the day-to-day activities. And so you see sometimes that the owner or the boss, whoever you want to call it, is dictating what to do, but they've never even really done it, right? And so, and I've been in that position as an accountant, you know, and you're sitting there and you're like, that's not going to work, you know, that's not right, you know, and you still have to do it, right? But a good leader will listen and ask for advice and see if those processes are actually working and improve them or not, right?
Somebody who's got to make some pretty quick decisions, right? Like they have to take in a lot of data. I heard somebody say the other day that a CEO doesn't make thousands of decisions a day. They're paid to make few high quality decisions, right? And so in order for them to make that high quality decision, they are very dependent on their team members and what their team members do and the way their team members have a pulse on what's happening on the ground floor with the customers to bring these people together. When you talk to people and you look at that human capital, how are they meeting with their team often? Are they asking questions? Like what's their kind of their schedule look like when you see somebody who has very strong high human capital?
Yeah, a lot of the ones that I've seen that were high performing, right? They don't do a lot of meetings every day, right? And it's like you said, the decisions that they may take time, but it's research, it's preparation. So when that decision gets done, you just have to live with it. I mean, you make the choice, and if it goes good or if it goes bad, you have to live with it. But the more prepared you are to make that decision, the better chance you have of that outcome. So if you're talking around to all the people involved in that process and involved in the strategy, you're going to get more information to make better decisions when it gets to that point.
Isn't it crazy how I feel like we've gone full circle? Like if you're the type of leader who is having a great team, who has an amazing human capital and they actually want to work with you, you actually have pretty strong psychological IQ as well, right? Because you got to deal with the choices that you make. Like you were saying, I mean, I think that is one of the most difficult things that people have to decide upon is make a decision and move forward. They hesitate for so long. And then you talked about compiling the data and then making a decision, but there's a difference between compiling the data and then analyzing the data and then trying to look at more data and then analyzing it more and never making a decision because you fear what happens one way or the other. Help me understand that real quick. When you make a decision, what has to go on in this person's head psychologically, right? What do they have to let go of in order for them to continue to move forward and be successful?
For a lot of those people, it's the fear of actually making the decision and being wrong. So it's just letting go of just, okay, I've already analyzed this. I'm going to trust my gut, or, I've looked at enough information that now I just have to make a decision, right? And it goes to what you were saying earlier. When you put yourself up to a wall, right, give yourself a deadline. Give yourself the time that it needs, but say, I'm going to give this a week. I'm going to give the time that it needs necessary, but then I'm going to make a decision, right? Not being so indecisive that you're just running in a circle forever.
That deadline, that time on the calendar makes all the difference in the world. Yeah. Speaking of time, dude, Chris, if people want to reach out to you, if they want to work with you, if they want to get a copy of the book, how can they do that?
Yeah, so go to Amazon and just type in The Curious Mind of the Business Owner or Chris Arredondo, and you can get the book there. You see my IG there. DM me and reach out to me.
What about the website, axiompartners.capital?
Oh, yes. So Axiom Partners Capital is our website. You can check out all of our services and everything that we do.
Sweet, my brother. All right. I got to ask you, man, you now have completed a full episode on the Business Bros podcast, and we're big on testimonials. So for us, the social capital and the social proof, that's really, really what our bread and butter is. So we like to give you a great experience, and then we ask you what your experience was like on the podcast. So I actually have two questions for you. One was, what was your experience like on the show? And then second, who do you think should be listening?
Oh, man. I think a lot of people should be listening. I think if you're not only a business owner, but you're looking to want to open a business or you're wanting to grow the business, I think that's the people that should be listening and should read the book. And to answer your first question, there was a reason why I put you on as my birthday, man. I wanted to enjoy and have a good time with you guys, man.
Dude, I hope we pumped you up, my brother. You know what? I gotta make sure that I got you here. Let's turn this thing up and let's have a party, ladies and gentlemen. We gotta hit it hard. It's his birthday. You don't come on the Business Bros podcast on your birthday and not have a party. That's just how we roll. So some party stuff. All right, ladies and gents, look, that's what it's at. We love to have some fun on the show, and I'm going to give you the testimonial template that we use on every single one of our episodes because it works, and this is what you should be doing with your customers already because you're already providing a quality service, a quality product. You're doing a great job for your customers, and they go out and talk about you, but they only talk about you for about 5 minutes, and then it's gone. But what we need you to do is use a testimonial. Video testimonial is going to make all the difference in the world. We just had Chris on the show. The very first thing we did was we pumped him up and told him how awesome he was. And then the second thing we did was we asked him to grace us with more of his awesomeness. We want to know what he's up to, what he's doing, and how he's helping the public. And then at the very end is the big ask. That's where you ask them to tell you what they thought about the show, tell you what they thought about your product or service. You capture that as a video, and then you start to use that in your marketing. That goes out to your prospective clients who are on the fence about working with you. That is a social media post that goes out in your email campaigns. You use them for all those things, even Facebook ads. And if you don't know how to do that and you want help, go to businessbros.biz/testimonials and let us help you do that. So make sure, hey, again, it's Chris's birthday, ladies and gents. Head over to his website, drop him a DM, at least tell him happy birthday, and then just kind of chime in and see if he can help you out. Because let's face it, you guys all need a little bit of funding. Right now, money is cheap. They're printing it out like crazy. And if you're ready to grow your business, you need to start talking to some people to grow that capital. Chris can help you out. All right, ladies and gents, Chris, happy birthday again, man. I had a great time talking to you today. Hope you had a great time on the show as well. And we'll catch you guys on the flip side. See you again at 4:00, man. We got a busy day. Peace out, y'all.
Thank you for listening to the Business Bros Podcast. Are you looking to get more clients or to increase your income? Hernan, the business bro, can help you generate referrals through the power of podcasting. And James, the insurance bro with Pipeline Insurance, can help you effectively add insurance to your existing business. If you are ready to create wealth today and generational wealth for tomorrow, email businessbros@seeusfirst.com to schedule a free consultation. Or join the Business Bros Network, www.businessbros.biz.